Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Richmond Guides Travel Talks. My name is Jonathan, and I am your travel guru here to talk to you about another one of the Disney Cruise Line ships. And with that tone, you know that means that there is an announcement on the way. I just wanted to let you guys know that we have a few things coming up. One of those things is that we have made a lot of progress on trying to get a lot of things up. When I mean me. And I've been able to figure out a way in order to make more consistent posts for you guys. I'm working on getting these podcasts to be a little bit more regularly, and we're going to try to be a little bit more helpful for you guys once we get past this episode and a few other episodes with the Disney Cruise Line. But beyond that, I also wanted to say that we are going to start having the videos made again because there's a few trips coming up. One of them being on Royal Caribbean, Icon of the Seas, the next icon in vacations. I love the way that they say that on Royal Caribbean. But enough about Royal Caribbean. Let's get back to Disney Cruise Line because we're getting to a really cool ship that I enjoyed. The first time I went on the Disney Dream was 2011, her maiden voyage year. So we were part of one of the first sets of cruises to have the opportunity to go on the Disney Dream. Speaking of first sets of cruises, her maiden voyage, January 26, 2011. She was originally purchased in 2007. It took a couple years to build it and design. And when she came out, her sister came out just over a year later. And we'll talk about the Disney Fantasy in another episode. But let's continue talking about the Disney Dream. So the Disney Dream is about 130,000 gross tons, much bigger than her older sisters, Magic and Wonder. She is longer too. She's over 1,000 feet long at 1,114, about 1,115 feet long, with her width, the beam, being 121.4 feet. She also is bigger in height as well, at 18 total decks, with 14 passenger decks of those. And also the size, the amount of people on this ship, the maximum amount you could have was about 4,000 capacity. And it's changed a little bit since the couple dry docks. And the crew size is 1,458 crew. There is something that this ship brought, which was a new horn arrangement. And I'm going to play a few of those for you. We're going to start with the original, When You Wish Upon a Star. Not only did they bring back When You Wish Upon a Star, but they also extended it to having Makes No Difference Who You Are. On top of that, they added a few others, like A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes. Here's another, An Actor's Life for Me. And if you're adding all these, you can't forget about a few classics from the parks. Yo-Ho. Be Our Guest. And It's a Small World. Now, over the years, they've added a few others, not just to the Dream, but to the Fantasy and the Wish as well. When they started having the Star Wars Days at Sea, they introduced 2 new horns, including the Star Wars theme. And the Imperial March. Now, when Olaf took over some areas on Castaway Cay, they decided, well, let's add another one. So here's Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Now, over the years, they added these different horns, and recently they just announced that the Disney Treasure, the new ship that's coming out, actually is introducing another 7 new horn patterns. So excited to hear those. And we will look at them on another day when it comes closer down the line. But moving on, let's actually talk about what the Disney Dream has done. After her maiden voyage in January of 2011, she actually completely replaced the Disney Wonder at Port Canaveral, doing the 3 and 4 night cruises out of Port Canaveral, going to Castaway Cay and Nassau, and on the 4 night had a day at sea. Recently, because of the addition of the Fort Lauderdale port in Port Everglades, there's a whole Disney Cruise Line terminal there. They actually have moved the Disney Dream from Port Canaveral to Fort Lauderdale. And now, after she came back home from her trip in Europe, she is now doing 3, 4, and 5 night cruises out of Fort Lauderdale until their next set of cruises they will announce. Probably within the next few months, they'll continue to extend the itineraries further along down the line. With a new ship and a completely new design, different than the Magic and Wonder, they had to come up with a few different restaurants to kind of change things up a little bit. They did keep one, however, at least the name of it. They changed it on the inside. We'll talk about that in a second. The first one you see when you come into the atrium, just like every single Disney cruise, you come into that atrium, is the Royal Palace. Now, the Royal Palace has this massive table in the middle of it that can seat, I believe, 12 people. Usually they pick larger groups to be there. But throughout it, you have a whole mural that has all the different Disney princesses. And then down below on deck 2, they actually put a brand new restaurant there, the Enchanted Garden. During the day, they can actually rearrange some of the booths to actually turn around in order to kind of reflect what the light is going on outside and inside. They also brought back Animator's Palette, but they moved it down to deck 3 in the aft, and they kind of changed it a little bit when they brought it onto this ship. They introduced 2 new things. One of them is Turtle Talk with Crush. Now, if you have been to California Adventure into the Animators area, you could actually have a Turtle Talk with Crush. You could also have at the Seas with Nemo and Friends, there is a Turtle Talk with Crush there as well. They brought it onto the ships, and it's the coolest thing because it's such a different environment, because Crush actually moves around throughout the whole restaurant. And on days that they're not having the Turtle Talk with Crush, you can actually become an animator. One of the things they do sometimes, depending on how long the cruise is, if you're in there, they'll give you a piece of paper, and on there's a little drawing that you can do, and you just draw a character, and it brings those characters to life. Like magic. Sorcerer Mickey, he just goes and makes them come to life and does a whole dance with them. And you get credits at the end. A few things that they also brought back are the adult restaurant Palo. They did actually move this a little bit higher up on this ship, and they married it with another restaurant. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But something else they brought to this ship was the buffet. On this ship, they actually brought the brand new name, Cabanas. Because if you remember, on the Disney Dream, on the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder, originally it was called the Beach Blanket Buffet. They changed it on those 2 ships to match Cabanas on the Disney Dream and the Disney Fantasy, which we'll talk about the Fantasy later. But they also brought a few things that are different on this ship. So instead of having Pete's Boil Bites and Pinocchio's Pizzeria, they have what's called Flo's Cafe. They have 3 different stands you can get from. You got Luigi's Pizza, Tow Mater's Grill, and Fillmore's Favorites. At the grill, obviously at the pizza, you can get pizza. They have a specialty pizza for the day. And then sometimes they always have your regulars like pepperoni and cheese. Over at the Tow Mater's Grill, you're going to have your grilled items. You're going to have hot dogs. You're going to have burgers. And then next door at Fillmore's Favorites, you're going to have your typical fried stuff and then some other things that are a little bit on the cooler side. So you don't have to go up to the buffet to grab stuff. Something that they did on the Disney Dream at one point when it went to dry dock for a little bit, they actually added Vanellope Sweets and Treats. This is an upcharge store, I would say, that you can go and purchase different kinds of sweets and treats there. And it's based on Vanellope Von Schweetz from Wreck-It Ralph. They also have Frozone treats and ice cream treats. So I scream Mike Wazowski. A few other stores that they have are going to be your mainstay stores that are on every single Disney ship. Mickey's Mainsail, Whitecaps, and Sea Treasures. These are the three primary ones that you're going to see on the main ships. And you've got the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, which changes over to a Pirates League for Pirate Night. So you've got that going on and the Dream as well. You still got Shutters. Shutters is going to be your location where you can get your photos, you can get a photo package, you can download, or you can buy any of the photos that they may offer, or even do a full-on Shutters photo session. Like, I've seen people do it across the ship, and they had a private photographer. Like, it's pretty cool what they do. And they also have Carriage Jewelers on here, based off of the carriage from Cinderella. And you can get your high-end jewelry in this location, and some of the stuff they have in there is just amazing. It's just amazing. Moving on from these stores, you have a couple of mainstays that have been on the other ships as well. You have the It's a Small World Nursery, which offers an area for 6 months to 3 years old that you can have those little tykes go to if the parents need a place away from the kids. You also have the Oceaneers Club and Lab, which is connected for ages 3 to 10. They have a couple things that are primary in here. You've got Andy's Room is a big thing. And then the Millennium Falcon. Yes, they can drive the Millennium Falcon on the Disney Dream. Now, a little thing that, and I find this funny because doing a little bit of digging to this, because I didn't notice it when we went on this because they actually changed it in the 2024 dry dock, is that the tweens and the teens now share the same area. So back when I first went on this ship, the tweens had an area up in the funnel, which on the Disney Magic and Disney Wonder used to be the teen area. So on this ship, it was the tween area, the 11 to 14-year-olds. They moved the tweens from there to where the teens are. And the teens having the vibe, this was like the first vibe that they had. At the, like, hidden away from everybody, you have to go from deck 4, you have to go on the walking track, and you have to go up this specific set of staircase and around, and you have to use your key to get in because this door is locked to everybody but the teens, and the teens have to activate it on the first day. And you go in, and it's in a separate space at the bow of the ship that you have a whole indoor area where you've got video games you can play, you've got relaxing areas. It used to have, like, you could plug in your devices and play some music in these areas, just relax. And there's like a whole sound booth and a whole outside area with a pool, ping pong, foosball. It was amazing. And now what they've done is they've carved out a little bit of the vibe and they've put the edge in there. So now you have the tweens next to the teens. I mean, Disney can make the decisions they want to, but they did replace where the tweens were with the new Dream Tower Suite. They're kind of going along the same as the Wish Tower Suite, the Treasure Tower Suite, the Destiny Tower Suite, and now it's the Dream Tower Suite, and they're going to have one for the Fantasy when the Fantasy goes to dry dock as well. Granted, this has changed. Things will constantly change. It's Disney. They love to change things. Now, shifting from the teens and tweens and the kids all the way up to the adults. Now, I did mention that they brought Paulo over again to the Disney Dream, and they brought it to the Fantasy as well. We'll talk about that. But they added a brand new restaurant. This new restaurant called Remy. It's based off of Paris on the high seas. It's like their whole thing is that you're there for a 3-course meal. And the cost of it is far more than Palo, but it is something that you're there to enjoy the cuisine, enjoying time with people. And to kind of merge these two restaurants together, they created a lounge in front of it called the Meridian Lounge. Now, this lounge is gorgeous. And Meridian, talking about like the Prime Meridian, it's a nautical based lounge. It's really cool. They also created a new area called the District. Now, this was Route 66 and on the Disney Magic and the Disney Wonder back when they had Route 66, then they shifted over to a new name. On here, it's the District. And they have a couple lounges. They have the Skyline, which it's a bar lounge that in the background you have 3 different images and they change throughout. You see many, many different cities, New York, Paris, and others. Unfortunately, they're not coming to my mind right now. There is also the District Lounge, using the exact same name as the District it is, but this is where you have your piano tunes. So if you want to listen to piano music in the evening as adults, this is the place to be. They've got Evolution where you can have by day, there's going to be daytime events like trivias and stuff like that. But at night, you're going to have dancing, partying, stuff like that. You also have Pub 687, which is the sports bar in which you're going to have TV screens to watch sports. And you're also going to have those classic Irish things in pubs and English. It's a little bit of a mix of both. And then you have Pink. This is actually a pretty interesting location, I'd say the least. It's a wine and champagne bar. Now, this was the first that I had seen of any kind of wine or champagne bar. And it's bubbly and it's pink. It's bright for me, but a lot of people like being in there because of it. It's not my taste. But the District, I'm not going to say this is negative, but this is like one of the interesting things about the District. There is, from one set of lounges to the other set of lounges, you have the whole elevator shaft and staircase, but next to it is the bathrooms. Now, normally you have a communal door that you open up and you go through and you have different stalls within there. You don't have that in the District. The District is the weirdest designed bathrooms. Like, they're all single stalls and they have men or women on the signs, and they're not squared or like evenly shaped. They're these weird rounded shapes to fit the area, and it's just the weirdest thing. Like, you have to see it to believe it. I could go on a rant all day about this, the design of it, but I digress. Anywho, a couple of different other areas for the adults. You've got the Senses Spa, and this is where they introduced the massive rainforest rooms and a few other things. Like, you've got the gym in there, and you've got massage rooms and stuff like that. There's also the Quiet Cove pool and cafe. There's also a Quiet Cove bar right next to the pool. This was something that they introduced on the Disney Dream. Something new. Now, to the main event. A few things about the Disney Dream that I really, really liked. One of the things was that they increased the size of the Buena Vista Theater. This is spanning decks 4 and 5, and they still run first-run movies. This is just a much bigger theater than what's on the Magic and Wonder. And then they also got a bigger funnel vision up on the top deck where you can see different movies on the top deck. So if you wanted to go sit out on one of those lounge chairs and you could watch the movies late at night, or you can even watch it during the day on those days at sea, or even if you're in Castaway Cay and you're sitting on the island, you're watching, you can see the movies running on it. It's the funniest thing. I was at a wedding on Castaway Cay and I could see in the background, it was Finding Nemo. Like, it was just cool to see a movie going on in the background. Now, to the bigger thing, they made the Walt Disney Theater bigger. Because there's more people on the ship, they had to make the theater bigger. They added a balcony row. So you now have 2 decks spanning. So technically the theater spans 3 decks. Decks 2, 3, and 4. but on deck 3 is your main orchestra area, and then you've got deck 4 is where the balcony is. And they show 3 different showings here. You've got the Golden Mickeys, an amazing classic tale that is similar to like the Oscars, and it talks about different characteristics people have. The unsung heroes, bravery, I could go on about it, but it's one of my favorite shows that they've ever designed. They also have Beauty and the Beast. I did not get to see this show when I was last on the Dream because something went wrong and they couldn't show us that particular show. But this is a reimagining of the Beauty and the Beast story in which characters have some of the characters are puppeteering. So it's kind of like a cross between the Broadway show, the show that they do at Hollywood Studios, and the 2 movies. Like a really interesting mesh of those. And I've seen pictures and images and videos, and it's just, I want to see it in person at some point, and I will. They also introduced a new show called Disney's Believe. They didn't bring Disney Dreams from the Magic and Wonder. They brought a brand new show about Disney's Believe. And this is, I wouldn't say it's the same as Disney Dream, but it is a neat show that they definitely had brought and had good intentions for. And it features a very, very funny character, the genie. And I like the show. Some people don't like it. I like it. But there's just a little bit more that the Disney Dream brought as a few firsts. So here they introduced Mickey's Pool, Donald's Pool. They also had a funnel puddle, which is like a low water level area for the kids to kind of splash in. And they introduced Nemo's Reef. Near Mickey's Pool, you also have Mickey's Slide, which is something similar on the Magic and Wonder. But something that is like the big thing you can see from the outside of the ship, they introduced what's called the Aqueduct, a 3-story water coaster that takes you 20 feet over the side of the ship. And it was just wicked the first time going on. It's just like, oh my goodness, I'm going over the ship and over water. Obviously, the Aqueduct does the same thing too, but when you're doing it in this slower moving tube and then you get launched up, just pretty neat to do it on there. They also introduced the first Goofy mini golf course on any Disney ship and sports simulators. They also have the basketball court that can convert into anything that they want to do, like volleyball, soccer, hockey on there, or anything like that. But just like the other ships, they also have Pirate Night. One of the best nights ever because you get to see fireworks at sea. Man, I still love this show, and it was very well done the last time we saw it. But they keep one-upping it. Like, you had an amazing job with the Disney Wonder and the Disney Magic, but when they brought in the Disney Dream, they took it up another step. They had more launches, more fireworks, bigger show, and they kind of changed it around a little bit because they also brought Captain Jack Sparrow into it when it first got introduced. So it was pretty cool to see with all of that. Now, that is a lot of info I just gave you guys about the Disney Dream. The Disney Fantasy is very similar, but we're going to do that in a separate episode. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter just because most of the stuff is exactly the same. But beyond me, that is what we've got today, at least for the Disney Dream. I personally think that the Dream is an amazing ship and has had a great opportunity to be able to see Europe, to be able to be here in the Caribbean as well. I did not go on any of the Europe itineraries. I've only been out of Port Canaveral with the Disney Dream. I've been on it just a couple of times because the timeline to go on the Dream versus when it was on Magic and Wonder was just a little bit different. But I also have to say that the technology on this ship, which I will actually talk more about on the Disney Fantasy, because this audio is going a bit long. We're sitting at about 24 minutes raw audio, which is long for me. But I digress. So we're going to talk more about what special features were brought to the Disney Dream and the Disney Fantasy when we talk about the fantasy. And we'll talk about a few other things dealing with what the future holds for Disney Cruise Line. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed all these fun facts about the Disney Dream and a little bit of notes from me and hearing the Disney horns. Here's another one for you. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye to you. I hope you guys have a great day, great week, great Thanksgiving coming up. I'm recording this on Veterans Day, so for all you veterans out there, thank you for your service, and I just thank you. If you guys haven't done so yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you do follow us elsewhere, thank you. If you haven't followed us on Facebook, Instagram, or on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe or like or follow buttons on any of those. If you give us a rating, that'd be great. And also, make sure you check out the richmondguides.com, RichmandGuides.com. The website is constantly being updated now, and we're getting blog posts up there. So make sure you check it out the next time you get a chance. Other than that, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next adventure. Bye-bye, everybody.